Hello, Mr. Sullivan. How nice to see you.
Alright, darling. Nice selection of jewellery you've got here. How much is that one?
£500.
500 quid, eh? Tell you what, I'll give you a fiver.
That's ridiculous.
Well, alright then. Emma, I'll give you a fiver. You let me borrow it for 6 months, and if I like it, after 6 months, I'll give you a tenner for it.
That's ridiculous. It's not going to happen.
Well, alright then. Don't say I didn't make an offer. Hi gang, this week we're going to be looking at David Sullivan and what he does at West Ham and why he does it. But first, let's have a look at what's happened at West Ham this week. That way. Hi gang, quiet week this week. A week in which Andy Carroll wasn't sold to Chelsea. What a shock. No, we all knew he wasn't really going to Chelsea. I bet Chelsea were not interested in him the slightest. There was all these rumours that he was feigning injury so he didn't have to train with West Ham because he wanted to move to Chelsea. Turned out, no, you'll be shocked. Come here. He was actually injured. Yeah, I know. Andy Carroll injured. Who knew? How could it be true? Yes, folks, he's injured and out for at least the rest of the transfer window. What a shock. Not anyone was going to buy a crocked idiot like him. And probably even needs operation. Let's face it, it's Andy Carroll, so he will out until the end of the season. So that rules him out on massive wage packet being paid up as someone who rarely plays. But it's Andy Carroll. Same old, isn't it? Meanwhile, loads and loads of our players were linked with other clubs going. Apparently we're going to be selling Sacco, Hernandez, Ayew, Font, Collins, the Tea-Lady. Even it's been rumoured that West Brom have put a bid in for me to go and do this show for them. Don't worry folks, that'll never happen. But I'm loyal, even if no one else is. But you know what? We are told constantly that our players are in high demand by anyone other than us because we don't really want them and they don't want to be here. Wonder why. Anyway, here's the thing. About this whole thing. We have been linked with a few more, yet more players who might be coming in. There's still more unpronounceable people, but the terrifying one is Samir Nasri, because what we need is a clapped out, really clapped out, but the attacking midfielder with no pace, who was quite good at Arsenal once and has the sort of face you just want to repeatedly punch very hard. He's that kind of player. We don't want him. I bet he actually turns up because, you know, apparently he's free. Fits in with our board's signing policy. One person who has left is the head of media relations, Max Fitzgerald, and who can blame him? Because, who would want to constantly wandering around trying to clean up the mess which the Sullivan regime leaves all over social media on a daily basis? It would be a bit like following a dog around a park that's got heavy diarrhea, having to clean that up constantly while still trying to rein it in so it stops doing it. Not going to happen, is it? I find that whole thing really baffling. So we are ahead of press. These new guys come from Bournemouth, lifelong Bournemouth support. He came from Bournemouth, allured by the ambition, no, don't laugh, of West Ham. We went to our new club, our new ground, and it's already worked out. What a shock, because there is no ambition. But more of that a little later when we cover the David Sullivan thing. Of course, match day came round, and I went to the game with 2 drunken idiots, which made us 3 drunken idiots. And my views on the game can pretty much be seen on Gonzo's vlog, which I will leave a link to below. So have a look at that. I'm not going to talk too much about the game, but we will pop over to Mike at the Tactics Centre and see what he's got to say about it. Mike, what did you make of all things about the game, tactically speaking? Thanks, Mike. West Ham hosted Bournemouth on Saturday. Let's have a look at how that broke down tactically. In the first 15 to 20 minutes, you'll find that West Ham struggled to get past Bournemouth's very resilient goalkeeper, despite having 3 or 4 attempts on goal. Bournemouth then put their fast and tricky wingers into play and broke on us with speed up the pitch like that, you see. And they've got several of these in play here. And We, on the other hand, struggled to break them down after that. However, Bournemouth did score on one of those tricky fast counter-attacks, and we managed to equalise immediately because luckily they'd lost concentration, and we used our slower, hoofier players to hoof the ball up the pitch, and luckily finally managed to get round the goalkeeper and score an equaliser. So there you go. West Ham 1, Bournemouth 1. Analysed in full for you on Mike and Monday by me, Mike, and this guy. So back to you, Mike, in the studio. Thanks, Mike. Insightful and engaging as always. Next week, apparently, Michelle will be back, which will be interesting. Anyway, now on to the main crux of what I was going to talk about in this show today. And I've called the show 5 Reasons for Change at West Ham. Really, it's all aimed at David Sullivan. Why am I doing this? Well, there is, if you go on any forum or Hammers Chat or any of the forums, then you will see there is all sorts of talk about people wanting change. There is a mass disenchantment with the board and the way direction the whole thing's going, and especially the leadership of David Sullivan. And I think there's an obvious reason for that, but also there's loads and loads of evidence about it. If you look, there are a fan group, like the Real West Ham fan group. I've put a link to them below. I've got something like 10,000 Facebook hits. Now, I understand you're all going to say, oh, that's just people clicking a like on Facebook. That's still 10,000 Facebook likes, and let's face it, and followers, and let's face it, that's better than no Facebook likes, followers, and that is all that's available. It's not like, you know, you can like sign up for and do a long form and then give your blood through the post to join it. That is what they ask you to do. So you can't just say, oh, that's just 10,000 Facebook likes for the Real West Ham fan group. I'll tell you what, that's what they ask people to do. You can't then not say that's valid, which the club kind of are doing around in a backdoor way. There is a range of really quite bizarre West Ham protest T-shirts currently out. Again, I'll put a link below so you can have a look at those. And there's all sorts of other things going on online where people are having a right old moan at our owners. Now, it's a traditional West Ham pastime moaning about our owners, but let's face it, these aren't traditional West Ham times. And I thought we'd have a breakdown. I had to have a quick breakdown of 5 of the things that I think that have really gone wrong here for us at West Ham. So let's go and do it, shall we? Yeah, make it happen. Now, I've done these as the top 5. But to be honest, they could be in any order. So coming in at number 5 is our net spend and money spent on players, and everyone's furious about this. Last summer, the summer just gone, the big transfer window in the summer, we had a net spend, and this is optimistically speaking using their official figures, of 17.3 million. More like in real terms, probably about 10 million. But let's go with their figures, 17.3 million, and even that leaves us 15th in the Premier League, behind such hotspots of player buying as West Brom, Watford and Palace. And look, those clubs really, once upon a time, were seen as our contemporaries. We're probably a bit bigger than one or two of them, a bit smaller than others, but I mean, for goodness sake, we have now moved to a 60,000 capacity stadium, and we're supposed to be, remember, playing with the big boys, but I'll come back to that in a minute. Basically, we are not getting the kind of investment we were promised when we moved ground. And here is the thing, it's what makes it different from the moaning voice. We've had sort of slightly dodgy owners, haven't we? Because we're a bit East End in it, mate. You know what I mean? But let's just take it to a whole new extreme, because Sullivan, especially, is the focal point of it, and he seems to be running the club. I mean, it appears he might not be, but it appears to us that he's running the club like a bloody market stall. Oh, mate, I'll tell you what, Amach, I'll tell you what, give us 100 for him, and you can have him, right? Do you know what I mean? Or how much is it for that player? I'll tell you, I'll give you a tenner. It's just like, it is not way to be doing business now. You're in charge of a multi-million-pound business, and you're running it that way. Also, we just aren't spending. We're the equivalent of that bloke you know who very rarely gets around in down the pub. You're not the one who never gets around in. You're one that you still invite because sometimes he does, but he doesn't often. I've got a friend like this, actually it's a relative. I can't say his name because he does watch these sometimes. But you know, you have a few friends round, and he'll turn up, him and his missus, and without anything. Like, I mean, I thought if you're making dinner and a load of people are coming round and then they'll moan because the red wine's run out. If you're watching now, you probably guessed who you are. We've actually made your name into a noun in our family, and then what? That name is to do that thing, and I think we could call it a Sullivan as well. Do you know what I mean? Like a Sullivan is to go, well, yeah, of course, what we've done here is, you know, obviously, because there's 100 million come in from the TV money, but the offices needed decorating, didn't they? And, you know, they don't come cheap. No way, mate, you know what I mean? You just can't run a business like that. And also, we just don't believe what they're saying now. They've lost our faith and trust in how that money's being spent. What happened to Pie money? It got spent on Font and Snodgrass, who went out on loan because everyone hated him, and now everyone kind of wishes he was back because there's absolutely no one to play down the right hand side. Also, it's become obvious now, and now that Bilic has gone, it is really abundantly obvious he had almost no say in transfers, and this is all Sullivan and, to extend, Henry's work. We kind of know that's what happened now. There are lots of whispers and whatever, but let's face it, I'm pretty sure that's the case. So, there you go. And that brings us on handily, I think, to number 4, which is the stadium. Now, you can't then say, oh, well, we're moving stone. This is, I think, okay, I'm getting muddled here. The reason I have a big issue with the stadium isn't the actual stadium. Okay, there are a lot of things wrong with the stadium. It's an athletic stadium. It's not a football stadium. But there are things I quite like about the stadium as well in itself. I've said before, I quite like it. It's got, you know, reasonable facilities, and you can see, and you can get a ticket. If you're a season ticket holder, you can get a season ticket, you know what I mean? But we'll come on to tickets as well in a little while. But I mean, like, it is not what we were told. We were sold something completely different, and we all knew we were moving into the Olympic Stadium. We all knew it was an athletic stadium, and we all knew that we'd be further back from the pitch. But how far from the pitch are we? Miles from the pitch. I think it was the retractable seating thing. Oh, these are magic mechanical retractable seating. It's not, is it? It's a couple of people gradually pushing them back by hand. It's a ridiculous thing. The whole thing, it looks cheap, and it looks... They've turned what could have been a great thing with a little bit more thought and care, not even necessarily money, into something that's a bit tawdry. But the most important thing is, we were told we were going to be moving up to the next level, we're going to be challenging the top 6, and they did say that. And they implied it heavily, maybe. But either way, that is what we were told, and none of that happened, as see the net spend at number 5 point. None of that stuff's happened. We've got the stadium, we've got the money coming in, none of that stuff's happened. But even worse is, since we've moved to the stadium, they have deliberately misled us and lied to us since we got there. Now, I'll give you a great example, is during the first season we were in there, to West Hamify it, they asked people to provide big banners they would then put up. Do you remember? Now, I remember I'm involved with Hammer's Channel. I remember they did a thing on the forum where we could vote for different designs, and there was a bit of crowdfunding, I think, to pay for it. Everyone got involved. We all got a design we liked, got the thing made, gave it to them. It went up for the last 3 or 4 games of last season. Come this season, oh no. What we've done is we've sold more digital advertising space around the stadium for money. And your banners are locked in a dark cupboard. That mob bugger off. We don't care. That's what happened. And you're like, well, what was the point of doing all that? A lot of people went to a lot of lengths, got quite excited, involved the people around them, which is the right thing to do. And do you know what you did? You just pissed everyone off. You know what I mean? You just, they're not up there. There's a couple of banners which people hang up, I've seen, but most of the other ones, the Clout and Hugh one, the Hammer's Chat one, the numerous other ones just disappeared forever. Why do that? All you've done is just infuriate people. Anyway, the stadium. Let's move on to point number 3, shall we? Because I'll talk about the stadium for years, trust me. Let's move on to point number 3. And number 3 is the fact that Sullivan does way too much. Now, I've talked about this in previous videos, but you're like, come on, man. You are the dictator of football, not director of football. Do you know what I mean? He just does everything. He wants total control of everything, which wouldn't be as bad if he did any of that stuff well. But here's the thing. He takes the easy option all the time. I was chatting to Gio, so some of these ideas came from a chat we had. Someone just in case who watches this and goes, oh, I said that, but here we go. And we were talking about his approach to hiring managers, etc. And his main point about it was he goes for the easy option, which Moyes is. Now, I haven't got an issue with Moyes. I think he's doing quite a good job. But he was an easy option to bring in. There isn't another level of thought. They don't think ahead. Like, if you look at, say, Watford, who just sacked Silva, when they sacked him, the new one was on a plane on his way here that they were going to bring in. That's joined up thinking. They've already knew if it didn't work out for whatever reason. This show isn't about him. You could be, because it was quite funny, but never mind. But I mean, it's like it is about West Ham. So, yeah, but they have always got contingency plans in place about what to do and where to put who and how to go about it. I'm not saying we should run West Ham like the Pozzo family, but somewhere in between there has got to be some kind of like a real term. All-round, joined-up, holistic thinking, and there is none. There is no planning. It all is based on what Sullivan wants. Now, and the other point that Jer made is, because I would really want us to get a director of football, and he made a really good point of, well, who would choose director of football? Wonder. It would be him. And he would get the easiest yes man option that he could find, so it'd make little or no difference. I mean, what I'm trying to get at here is he is in total control of himself. It's like we are in a dictatorship. It's like we can't sack the board. He is the board. He owns the club and he runs the club. In every other Premier League club, everyone, there is a level of separation between who runs the club and the owners. There is a buffer, except us. And that is a major, major issue. And that, I think, above all else, maybe it should be number one, above all else, has got to change, yeah? That is the major, major factor that needs to change, in my opinion. Number two is the pure lack of ambition that we as a club now seem to have. Let's face it, they are more than happy that we just stay in the Premier League. That's it. They want us to stay in the Premier League and earn money and bring money in. What's going to happen next is anyone's guess. Like, I'm reasonably convinced they're going to sell the club at some point when they don't have to pay the stadium any more money for doing it. As we all know, there's a deal where I think if they sell the club within 5 years, they have to pay a certain amount to the people who run the stadium, and after that they're done. I think he's going to keep in the Premier League until then, and then sort of flog it, and that'll be it. Who to? Who knows? Because the Birmingham sale went really well, and Birmingham sold it to a guy who immediately got imprisoned for all sorts of naughtiness, and that was the end of Birmingham, really. And so let's hope he didn't do that, but I do think that is what. So in the meantime, it's left for us as West Ham fans to keep buying the tickets and like going and watch the games and give them our money, and there isn't really anything else, because we were sold again we were going to be challenging the top team. I don't expect to become a top 6 team overnight, but I did expect us to improve year on year, and that's kind of not happened. We would right now all be grateful for 11th, which is actually where we are in the Premier League now, which is where we finished last season. The most we realistically could finish now this season is 9th. I think we'll finish somewhere between 11th and 15th in real terms. But hey, and it's just when I was in a band when I was young. Oh, what a shock! You didn't see that one coming, did you? And our height of our ambition was to play a gig, and you know what happened? We never got to play a gig. And we never did, because that was the height of our ambition. Our ambition should always be well ahead of what you actually end up achieving. You aim for the stars, you know what I mean? You might reach the sky, that sort of idea, I think, anyway. And like, yeah, we never did that gig. If our ambition was to have a string of #1 hit singles, do you know what? I bet we'd have done some gigs at some point. Though, given the fact I was singer in band, honestly, the world was a better place without ever having our band launched on it in any way, shape or form. But you got the idea. And what I'm saying is, if your ambition is to stay in the Premier League, you will probably struggle to stay in the Premier League. Your higher ambition should be to challenge into that top 6 area, which isn't. Well, no matter what they say, that is not the height of our ambition. And number one, and it sounds a bit odd this one, but bear with it, is the company David Sullivan keeps. Now, we are all aware of the great triptych here. You've got Karen Brady, you've got David Gold. What does David Gold actually do? He just doesn't seem to do very much, but maybe I'm wrong. Comment below if I'm wrong. And you go, oh no, David Gold's a mine of old tweets or really good information. I don't know. You never see him really do much except for comment and stuff when it's not needed. And of course you've got David Sullivan. Now, my main issue here is with the other two, because you're not just Sullivan. Well, it is. And here's the thing. Lady Brady, she might be a brilliant businesswoman, but she genuinely doesn't give one about West Ham fans, does she? I mean, like, I don't no issue with her as a business person, even though she's a Tory grandee. But you know what? She doesn't care. Anyway, we're given these sort of lip service meetings that people have been to, where they talked about stuff with her, and then people from numerous things went and whatever. And we all hoped that was going to lead to a little bit more consultation. It was going to involve fans a lot more, but it was a lip service thing. And I've noticed that even when they do them, very few people actually go to them now because they don't want to be associated with it, because we all now know it means nothing. And but the number one example for this is that stuff they do with Thomas Cook. Now that's still online, and I'll post a link below. You can buy the football experience with Thomas Cook, and part of that is a package with a hotel and tickets for a West Ham game, and you can experience a real football experience. No, that real football experience should be going to real football fans who are Claret members on the waiting list for season tickets who really want to go, actual fans. But no, you're doing it so you've probably marked up the tickets so you can get that bit extra more money for them. And it's penny pinching. You already got £100 million for TV. You've got this big new stadium. You don't need to be involved in this West Ham. That is another great example of your utter cheapness at the moment, and where you're dragging our club down. Yay! I hope you're enjoying today's show, because it's a downbeat, isn't it? But here we are, it's January, the transfer window's open. I bet your bottom dollar we won't either buy anyone, even though we are desperate for a midfielder, or buy players Moyes didn't really want, or we'll get the cheapest option. They could blow me out the water here, West Ham, and here's your chance to, by investing in a really well and cleverly structured way, by letting Moyes get in who he wants and actually giving him the funds to do so. But that excuse of, well, it's January, the top players we really want aren't available, that might be the case, but even if it was, we don't believe you. Anyway, that's it. My 5 things, it was quite long with it, my 5 things that I'm really need to change about the whole Sullivan regime. Oh, and by the way, it's a monarchy as well, isn't it? Because even if they do stay and don't sell, Jack's taking over, and he might be a great guy. I've never met him. He might be a really super fun guy, but unless he has seen all the stuff that his dad does wrong and doesn't want to do that, I suspect it will be run in a very similar way. Anyway, there you go. That's it for my great gripes and moans about the Sullivan board. So there are links to everything below. You can look at Real West Ham Group. I've joined that, and I've just do Facebook page. There's those T-shirts, fan protest T-shirts that are going around, and some other stuff. I'll put all the links below. And let's have a look now at your great letters and, well, letters. Who sends letters? Your great emails and comments and tweets and stuff you've sent to me over the last week. This way.
1, 2, 3. No.
Well, folks, once again, many thanks for all the messages you leave below and all of those lovely things that you keep saying on tweets and stuff you comment below. Do keep them coming, because I will try and feature as many as I can in this part of the show. So, moving on. First of all, last week I talked about pets for some reason, I can't even remember why, and Neil Parker commented as part of a longer message that he didn't think we had much in common, but he agreed with me on dogs. So, here you go, Neil. Didn't think we had much in common, but I did talk to you for half an hour on the boats, and we seem to be getting on fine on Saturday. So, nice one, mate. Great to meet you in person. Next, Simon. Now, his tweet to me was a bit odd when I first read it, so hopefully we can make sense of it. He said, is David Sullivan the one-eyed king? Now, I assume what Simon's referring to is that famous saying that in the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. And If only the idea being that you've got a vaguely daft bloke leading even dafter people. The problem with that is, Simon, that expression in the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, does not stand up at all to any type of logic. So you think about it, how do the blind people know that the one-eyed man is king? And how do they know he's got one eye? That's what I'm trying to say. How do they know he's got one eye? They can't see him, and he can say, oh, I've got one eye, so I can see. I think there are unicorns running around. But they would just go, yeah, well, how do we know you can see? Because none of us can verify the fact that you can see, because you're the only person. And also, where the hell have they found the one-eyed man to be king? Where is this kingdom of the blind? And what is the next door kingdom, one-eyed people, and then next door to that is two-eyed people? But we all know the real terms is the two-eyed people would invade everywhere and take over because they could. Now, anyway, that's in the back. So no, that makes absolutely no sense at all. Solomon here, he asked me, he likes the music in the show, thanks Solomon, do I like rap music? Well, that's a bit of a weird one. Not really, because I'm 15, it would be deeply inappropriate to me. There are the odd tracks that I like, but I'm not really a fan of rap. And the thing that probably annoys me the most about rap music is the hand gestures, yeah man, yeah man, yeah man, and all that stuff. I'm just like, it's a bit beyond me. And there are, certainly where I grew up, there were groups of people in South London, right? There were groups of people who could only communicate through that, and in fact, I don't even know this, but this is universal sign language for I failed all my exams. Yeah, so there you go. I think that proves quite a lot about it. And I ain't got no qualifications, man. Yeah, sorry, that was just rubbish, wasn't it? Never mind. And moving on, now, here's a good one. Pete Steggs. Now, he commented on something, and I put it here in my notes to comment on. And then, as I've read it, realised that, because his one was referring to the Shrewsbury game, which I said last week, is anyone going? Now, I realised I've completely forgotten in the intro bit about what happened to West Ham this week. There was a extra time 1-0 win over the mighty Shrewsbury Town. And I've forgotten it for a very good reason. It was infinitely forgettable. I mean, I couldn't go to the game, but even I fell asleep listening to the extra time on 5 Live. So I love Pete's going, because he'd written he's going with his dad and he's going to drink 4 pints for every goal against Shrewsbury. So that's 4 pints you had then, Pete, was it? And then you wouldn't have had much time to drink them if you bought them at the ground. And if you went somewhere after the game, all the pubs have been shut because it went on forever. So hope that worked out for you in the end, mate, and you got your 4 pints, but don't hold your breath if you didn't. And and the last one will do, oh no, not the last one, James came in and he said, what makes me angry? Not a lot. David Sutherland's kind of made me a bit angry in this show, but I'm quite a chilled guy. I've noticed though, I can make other people angry really easily. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, I was in Tesco, and this person got really enraged with me because I had just kind of shouting at me and everything because I had more than 10 items in my coat. And the security guy got really upset with me and he started shouting. And that's one example of me making other people angry. And finally, Mozzie, I assume that's how you say it, Mozzie, if not, many apologies, has asked me, do I think we'll get past Wigan in the next round of the FA Cup? Well, obviously that's our next game. Do I think we'll get past Wigan? I'm not 100% sure either way, I've got to be honest with you, because Wigan are again, the side kind of side, one, they're actually doing really, really well this season, and two, they beat Bournemouth 3-0 last round, for goodness sake. I'd love to say we could send a weakened team up, but we can't. We're going to have to send up whoever's fit, and that's it for that game. Hopefully we'll have time to prepare and we'll be decent, but we're not great at breaking down other teams that are defending. We're great at counter-attacking other teams that want to attack us, but you never know. Do I think we'll beat them? We might edge it 1-0. We might need a replay again. I've no idea. But at the moment, as the Bournemouth game demonstrated, we really struggle to break down teams that want to defend against us, and that will be another one of those. So I think that's going to be it for this week, guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you do or got any questions or do want to leave any comments, then please leave comments. If you've enjoyed the show, give us a thumbs up. If you've not enjoyed it, don't. Remember to subscribe to Hamish Chat on both channels. You've got the Hamish Chat channel and this one. And I will see you next week. Don't forget to check out the links I've left below. And I will see you next week for next week's show. Until then, come on you irons, keep the faith.